Today's shout out is for Zuldinga. Jetmir versus Kenrith, Ziatora and Feather. 0 lander, that's a good start. Okay, well, managed to get ourselves into a 2 lander with no ramp there and only 1 coloured land. I think I'd rather go down a card here, to be honest. Wow. Alright, well, that's a turn 1 Esper Sentinel. Hopefully gets us into a land for a Sylvan Library, so yeah, not destined to do much this game apparently, but we'll try our damnedest. We've actually flattened everyone in every Jetmir game that I've uploaded, I think, so should be interesting to have a look at some other decks maybe. Oh, we're actually last in the turn order as well, just to make it even more of an uphill battle. A Mystic Remora from the Kenrith player. Okay, that's great, we do manage to draw into a land in Reflecting Pool, shock down the Temple Garden, and obviously play out the Esper Sentinel. Illuminator Virtuoso, 1-1 with double strike, and it can connive. Kenrith obviously paying into the Mystic Remora, as you would expect. Players might be holding off on rocks and things like that. They do miss a land though, so keeping a 1-lander over there, maybe the client isn't being kind to any of us. That is a red source for us potentially. Yeah, most likely is. Play the Reflecting Pool, and we'll swing in at Ziatora. And then ending the turn with a Sylvan Library, we will give the 5-colour player a land hopefully. Feather the Redeemed down on turn 3. And then the Illuminator Virtuoso, having no mercy, swinging in towards Kenrith. Yavimaya in play for the Jund player, so that is relevant when we are in a green deck. Doomed Necromancer now, don't think they've binned anything at any point, no they haven't. Cannot pay for the Mystic Remora, so hopefully Kenrith has drawn into a land here. Oh wow, yeah, you really shouldn't keep 1-landers, you can be very unlucky and not have lands in like the top 5, 7, 10 cards if you're really unlucky. Okay, speaking of which, we are being really lucky by getting into so many lands off the top, seeing as how we had to keep a 1-lander ourselves, was it? Okay, that is Divine Visitation, call the Coppercoats. Yeah, I'm gonna try and calm down a little bit on life. Yeah, we'll shock down the Sacred Foundry. I would like to draw into Divine Visitation next turn, so yeah, we'll take 6 life here this turn, annoyingly. But we'll get the Krenko into play, hopefully. This player will stick around long enough for us to be able to swing in over there. We'll hold back and try and dissuade them from scooping on us. And yeah, the Krenko gaining some attention from Feather. Both these creatures swinging in towards us. That is a double striker, so it will trade us. We're going to be dealt 5 damage here, which is why I want to go easy with the Sylvan Library. Curious that they played the green side down of the Timber Crown pathway, because they do have a Yavimaya in play here. Ziatora's Envoy enters the battlefield. Noteworthy that Feather held up mana, so could have swords and path and spot removal, things like that. It's likely that they'll have protection for their commander. They got away with tapping out into it before, not holding up any protection. The 5-colour player finally gets into a land on turn 4. And that's now we're seeing why they held on to the 1-lander. They only needed 1 to get into Celestia's Signet, so hopefully can catch up on us here. Good for them for carrying on playing it out. We've seen a Sky Scribing hit the bin as well, likely to hand size last turn. And that did draw us into the Divine Visitation thanks to Esper Sentinel. Okay. Don't think I want either of these. Not going to pay life into it anyway if we're going to be taking damage from our opponents. So let's put both of these on top and we'll shuffle them away with the Arid Mesa. Going to get down our commander here. Might as well go for a plateau, seeing as how a Yavimaya is in play. That will tap for all 3 colours. And we'll see if our opponents have any spot removal for us. The Feather player is holding up priority. Letting us go through to the combat step though. We will swing in towards the wide open player. Those do have Vigilance thanks to us owning 3 creatures. And that gets us up to 6, so now we have Trample and Vigilance. These are 3/1s that do not enter attacking. Buffing the Esper Sentinel as well, so the tax is going to be much more difficult to pay. Okay, so now seeing a Light of Hope. That is a plus counter onto the double striker, and it will connive. Obviously the Light of Hope will go back to hand. Esper Sentinel, they're not going to be able to pay for that, so we do draw into Beastmaster Ascension, which could be really good. Would need a haste creature to get it down straight away and swing in, but if we can keep the board as it stands now, then it could be useful. That is a show of confidence. Haven't updated my feather deck in a while, and we've had some... Yeah, Connive's a really good one for feather that I didn't think about, but Strixhaven has given us some good stuff for it as well. When you cast this spell, copy it for each instant and sorcery you've cast this turn. New targets for the copies, plus counter on a creature, it gains vigilance. So discarded so far a Sunforger and a Swiftfoot Boots, likely trying to get themselves into more mana. So both of those go back to hand. It's noteworthy that they can destroy an enchantment if they're desperate to, so we'll have to try and remember that. This double striker's been buffed up to a 7/7. Apostle's Blessing has been discarded. This thing is now a 7/7 with double strike. Yeah, apparently an absolute all-star in feather. So swinging in at us with the double striking 7/7. We will just chump with a goblin and hope that they don't get any trample at instant speed on there. There might be a red spell that does that. A 5/4 trampler that swings in towards feather, so we might be able to see some protection spells here. They do have plus counter shenanigans here that we know about. Okay, so it's Reckless Rage that we're seeing here. 2 damage going on to the Illuminator Virtuoso and 4 damage going on to the Jetmir. And then it is Light of Hope being cast again, so that is a plus counter going on to feather. And once again, show of confidence, so deciding to tap out. Let's assume maybe that they don't actually have any protection for their commander then. Well, they certainly don't now because they haven't held it up. In the bin is, we've seen Apostle's Blessing, there's a Smouldering Egg as well. Feather gets buffed up to a 7/8, and it's a Lithoform Engine being cast into our Esper Sentinel. We drew an Elemental Bond as well, thanks to Feather. 2 lands in a row for Kenrith. 4 mana available. They may well go for a board wipe here. Actually not entirely sure what type of Kenrith deck this is. Not sure if this gives us any clue. Might be Draw Pain or a Group Hug deck. Oh wow, really? A Spirit being given to the Feather player. I really think that this is the last player that we should be helping out. Not drawing from the Esper Sentinel. Casting Staff of Domination, and they pay the tax into that. Okay, we get ourselves into a Toski. Don't think we particularly need to be playing out a Toski, and we actually don't have very much mana, annoyingly. Pest Infestation, Secure the Waste, probably best to just go for the Pest Infestation here, so we'll put both of these on top, and then drop a land, drop the Mana Crypt, and then I'll tempt my opponent to get rid of that enchantment removal, and we'll go for Mirari's Wake here. So that leaves us with 4 mana. Yeah, let's swing in first before we decide on anything else. And we'll go in down the middle just because this player is at more life. That makes us 4 Goblin tokens because a plus counter goes on the Krenko. And they decide not to go for the Ziatora's Envoy and trade there, so that's good. So I don't think it particularly matters about a Call the Coppercoats. I'd rather hold on to Call the Coppercoats for if we can get Divine Visitation out. I'm hoping that this doesn't get blown up, but I think it might bait that removal out. Let's just go for the Elemental Bond here. Little bits of incremental card advantage isn't too bad with the state that we're in now because we do have a fairly full grip, won't have to be too aggressive with the Sylvan Library. Reckless Rage being cast by Feather, they will let us draw for one last time because that is going on to the Esper Sentinel. So we draw into Secure the Wastes, and they do of course get a Connive with the Virtuoso, discarding an Eerie Interlude, and then casting Shelter, draw a card, protection from a colour. So this can gain protection from red, which is most likely what they're doing. They have discarded Adamant Will to the Connive. Managing to drop another land, so could buff this up even further. It is a Show of Confidence, plus counter on it, and Vigilance. So we're going to be pretty close to getting knocked out here. Yep, so it's a 13/13 with double strike, Vigilance, and protection from red. And that sees the back of us. That was 7 commander damage, went on to the Ziatora. And they of course do get all this stuff back. Okay, Doom Necromancer, bringing this back at the end of the turn. Risky to go up against a Jund player and not hold up your protection spells. This swings into the right against Kenrith, triggering the Ziatora's Envoy, and they copy the trigger with the Lithoform engine, so getting 2 of the combat step triggers here. Got themselves a Strionic Resonator. After that, casting a Jeska's Will, and that gets them into 7 mana. They don't control their commander, so didn't get the card exile from that. Goblin and Narcomancer doesn't look as though anyone's going to be doing anything to the feather. Unless Kenrith has a board wipe or something. A Fiery Emancipation. 2 cards left in hand. I think it was Arcane Signet that came down there. I can't pause the video anywhere near as often now because I am out of the game. Forbidden Orchard being tapped down, and yeah, now cottoning on that they shouldn't be helping the Feather player, giving the token over to Ziatora. It's likely that Feather is going to take out the Ziatora player in the same way that they took me out last turn, giving protection and just swinging straight through with double strike. Although, yeah, that is colourless, isn't it? So they will be able to block, can't give protection against colourless. And playing an Ooze token, that is with the Gelatinous Genesis, so it might be the Kenrith that gets knocked out by the Virtuoso this turn. This player is on Feather commander damage anyway. And they went Reckless Rage onto the Ooze, so not even bothering with the Shelter, is it called, to give protection. That does cost 2 mana, and there are a very few number of lands. The Feather again goes in at Ziatora, as we said it would. All this happening due to a distinct lack of spot removal. All 3 of us have failed to remove this thing, and Feather has been tapped out. Maybe it was that they were tapping out and they had access to, what is it called? The free redirect red card, the 3 mana one. Deflecting Swat, is it called? Yeah, it might be that they had access to that. Anyway, this player getting knocked out, I don't think it will be long before the Jund player goes down as well. So the Ziatora swinging in here, it is red, and it does have trample. So thanks to the Fiery Emancipation, that is going to be triple damage through the Spirit token. But of course, the Feather player has absolutely everything. That is a Swords to Plowshares. I mean, they've been conniving a hell of a lot, so being able to craft a really good hand. Okay, and the Jund player just decides to scoop there, so there we go, we can have a look at Feather's hand. And the Jund player, this is likely a combo piece, Wall of Blood, something that you can sink life into. And a Seedball Muse as well, not sure which combos they were after there. We had not seen Dawn Charm from our opponent. Feat of Resistance we hadn't seen either, that is protection from a colour as well. As is Shelter we've seen, Light of Hope, and Reckless Rage we've seen, along with the Show of Confidence. So yeah, it was a pretty confident performance from the Feather player. If you enjoyed this game, then please consider donating on Patreon. It really is one of the reasons that I carry on doing this channel, because it's a massive, massive time sink. And yeah, probably couldn't justify sinking so much time into this YouTube channel if it wasn't for the patrons. Massive thank you to them. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.